Breaking news from D.C. Trump says, hell no. By Al Waisman for freedomdaily.com. The Democrats and the GOP rhinos in Congress are back to their normal shenanigans, but this time our president isn't Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, or George W. Bush. This morning, President Donald Trump sternly warned both Democrats and Republicans in Congress that he won't approve any legislative fix for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, or DACA, until he sees full funding for the much-needed border wall between the U.S. and Mexico. Here's Trump's tweet. The Democrats have been told and fully understand that there can be no DACA without the desperately needed wall at the southern border and an end to the horrible chain migration and ridiculous lottery system of immigration, etc. We must protect our country at all costs. After losing my home state of California because President Ronald Reagan fell for the Democrat lie that promised border wall funding, after he signed amnesty, and seeing how globalist President George H.W. Bush failed to give up to his 1988 campaign, up to his 1988 campaign promise of read my lips, no taxes, which set up this nation for the Clinton curse, which we are still living with 25 years later. It's awesome to finally have a president who actually keeps his promise. Via Yahoo News, 10 promises Trump kept in 2017. Donald Trump in 2017 moved from being a chaos candidate to a chaos president. He shoots for the moon, literally, routinely says things that aren't true, and often makes pledges that generate enormous attention, but very little follow-through. Many of his signature policy efforts have been tied up in or blocked by the courts. His campaign is under investigation by the FBI, and his approval rating is at historic lows for a first-year president. But the mind-numbing deluge of the Trump administration's first-year controversies, the sheer number of misstatements and inflammatory tweets and abrupt staffing shifts, sometimes obscures the fact that Trump has achieved quite a number of the things he sets out to do during the first year of his administration. He is, after all, the president, and Democratic resistance or no, that remains the most powerful post in the land, the ultimate government executive authority. Here are 10 campaign promises Trump kept. Together, these achievements could form the nucleus of a re-election campaign. Bomb the hell out of ISIS. This pledge, made over and over again at raucous arenas, rallies during the campaign, and popularized on buttons and t-shirts sold across America, has largely come to pass. Trump promised old school war with its greater tolerance of civilian casualties and delegated difficult targeting decisions to the generals. By May, the Pentagon was running low on small bombs. It had dropped so many. By July, the U.S.-led bombing campaign had killed more than 2,000 civilians in Iraq, as many as were killed during the entire Obama administration. The Syrian city of Raqqa was declared liberated in October, but had been nearly destroyed by the U.S.-backed fighters. In September, Newsweek declared Trump really is bombing the blank out of ISIS just like he promised. In December, the Iraqi Prime Minister declared Iraq fully liberated from ISIS. That's an achievement that past experience shows may have be hard to hold, and ISIS-inspired attacks in the West continue to pose a threat as well. But there's no question that when it comes to having hit ISIS hard, Trump can declare with as much certainty and pride as George W. Bush once did, mission accomplished. The replacement for Justice Scalia will be a person of similar views and principles. On January 31st, Donald Trump nominated Neil Gorsuch, described by the New York Times as a conservative in the mold of Anton Scalia. He was confirmed at the start of April on a 54-45 party line vote after a bruising political campaign for and against his nomination and the removal of the judicial filibuster and its 60-vote threshold in the Senate. This was the easiest campaign promise for Trump to keep, thanks to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's refusing to open the confirmation process to an Obama nominee throughout 2016, and Trump kept it. Since taking office, Trump has nominated, and the Senate has confirmed more appellate judges in his first year than any other president since the courts they sit on were created in 1891. Pull out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a potential disaster for our country. Trump promised to replace America's multilateral trade agreements with one-on-one deals, and on his first full weekday in office, he pulled America out of the 12-nation TPP agreement, a signature Obama accomplished that Hillary Clinton had also expressed doubts about. Critics say U.S. withdrawal from the agreement governing trade with Asian and Pacific nations only strengthened the hand of China. Cancel the Paris climate deal. Trump vowed to cancel the Paris Climate Accord, which was ratified in October of 2016, giving it the force of international law, and in June of 2017 announced he would withdraw the United States from the now 197-country agreement to reduce carbon emissions. We're getting out, he said. Of course, the accord continues to exist even without the official support of the world's second largest source of carbon emissions. And because the climate accord was ratified just days before Trump won the election, the process of withdrawing from it is no simple matter. It will take 4 years and only become final shortly before the 2020 election. Nonetheless, Trump took all the steps he could to put a check mark next to one of his key campaign promises, as CNN put it over the summer. The Trump plan will lower the business tax rate. Trump made an array of specific promises during the campaign on how he cut taxes as president. Among them, lower the business tax rate from 35 to 15%, collapse the current 7 tax brackets to 3 brackets, repeal the alternative minimum tax and eliminate the carried interest loophole, create a new child and elder care tax deduction, and eliminate the estate tax. Of these promises, the one most clearly encoded in the tax bill hashed out by Congress in December was the lowering of the corporate tax rate, which was reduced from 35% to 21%. This bill put corporate tax cuts first. That's where roughly 70% of the benefits go, noted Los Angeles Times columnist Doyle McManus. The alternative minimum tax remains on the books, though, with a higher income exemption level, as does the carried interest loophole and the estate tax. The new plan does not decrease the number of tax brackets at all, though it changes their income thresholds and rates. Repeal and replace disastrous Obamacare. Congressional Republicans were repeatedly thwarted in their efforts to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act's many provisions in standalone bills, but the individual mandate penalty for not carrying health insurance, which was legally permitted as a form of taxation by the U.S. Supreme Court, was repealed in the tax bill passed December 20th. The mandate penalty is understood as one of the core provisions underlying the ACA's health insurance exchange, which need healthy as well as sick individuals to pay into the system. The Trump administration sought to undermine enrollment in the exchanges in other ways too, such as cutting back on the advertising for them and the time to enroll. But Democratic and activist efforts to preserve Obamacare may have acted as a year-long advertising campaign for the program, and enrollment in the exchanges in the end reached record numbers for 2018. Rolling back regulations. Donald Trump has overseen what the week has described as the biggest regulatory rollback in American history, as benefits and anti-regulatory agenda overseen by a former real estate development. The major focus of that rollback has been undoing regulations promulgated by the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of the Interior, both of which govern land use, and rules that rein in the banking industry. The administration has also adopted more lenient approach to enforcing those rules that remain on the books. Drill, baby, drill. Advocates for the protecting wildlife in the Arctic. This was originally a 2008 Sarah Palin campaign promise, but Trump stood next to her as she echoed it while supporting his campaign, and he promised to once again open America's public lands and offshore areas to energy exploration. In April, Trump signed an executive order to allow offshore drilling in parts of the Arctic, Pacific, and Atlantic Oceans, including in marine sanctuaries declared off limits under Obama. He also ordered the Interior Department to review the Obama-era rules. The administration overturned an Obama-era ban on new coal mining leases on public lands as well. By ending catch and release on the border, we will stop the cycle of human smuggling and violence. Illegal border crossings will go down. Then Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly declared on a visit to El Paso, Texas in April, "We have ended dangerous catch and release enforcement policies." That was a bit of an overstatement, but the perception that the Trump administration had ended the policy of allowing captured undocumented border crossers to avoid detention while awaiting legal disposition of their cases led to a dramatic 58% decline in border crossings attempts during the first half of 2017. By June, the average monthly increase in those awaiting proceedings outside custody was about 7,500 compared to 20,600 during the final 7 months of Obama's presidency. In April, the Border Patrol caught a low of 11,100 documented immigrants, but by October it had become clear that there had not actually been a formal revocation of catch and release policies, despite the statements to the contrary, and border crossings surged again to 26,000. That said, Trump's assertion that ending catch and release would decrease crossings was proved correct, and border crossing attempts declined sharply for a time. Recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver. "Today I am delivering," Trump said in making the announcement, overturning 7 decades of U.S. foreign policy in December. The administration went on to sign a waiver permitting the U.S. Embassy to remain in Tel Aviv for another 6 months, continuing the policies of previous presidents. We finally have President Trump, a man of his word, who won't let the establishment convince him that they can be trusted, all during the campaign as he would make his multiple, almost unreal promises. I recall telling a friend who was very suspicious of him at that point, if he does 10% of what he claims he will, still be 8% more than what any other Republican president in our lifetime has ever done, and who knows, we might even be pleasantly surprised. Never in a million years did I ever dream that after only a year in office, he would be keeping most of the promises he made. Makes you wonder what the other 44 presidents were doing during their time in office. Playing golf. Please share if you are proud of President Donald Trump. Yes, absolutely. And with all the backlash that he's getting and being stopped at every turn, I mean, really, I give him a lot of credit for that, because nobody else could withstand that, that's for sure. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.